drive over. I grew up in San Diego, but now for the past 8 years or so, I make my home in Long Beach, California. Yes, it's got the Red Mountain claws, exactly. Are you from there, or you went to Long Beach State? Fine school. Yeah, it takes a little getting used to living in Long Beach, especially moving from San Diego. First of all, I'll tell you that it's deceiving because it has the word beach in the title, which makes you think beach. Look, if somebody said something beach, there's an image of what that life is like. Manhattan Beach, Venice Beach, Redondo Beach, that's beach living, and Long Beach is long ghetto. They need to stop killing themselves and put that on the goddamn brochure. I live 6 walking blocks from the beach. That's pretty good living. You go, man, Canada. That guy must be doing well. I couldn't be more frightened on a daily basis. I live in the hood. Look, I'm not above living in the hood, because I live in the hood. But I shouldn't live in the hood, because I ask questions, I don't ask. There is no reason.
Hello and welcome to Titan TV. My name is Veronica and I'm joined by Lamont Ferguson, who is an award-winning comedian. Lamont, how was parking today?
Parking was great. I parked in Tustin and then I took a cab.
All right, that's really the only way to get parking here.
That's as close as they could circle.
All right, first question, who do you admire in the comedic world?
I admire Cosby. Cosby would be the guy, as far as most comics would say. It's a longevity thing. It's a mass, broad appeal type of deal. But Cosby was the guy that I watched a lot as a kid.
I heard that you also like Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor.
And he's very, very different than Bill Cosby. How do you reconcile the two?
Because I'm not necessarily a Cosby clone. I like Cosby because of his appeal. I like Pryor because of what he has to say, as well as Carlin. So my act is, I do some social commentary in there, but I also do some family type of stuff that is the Cosby side. So it's a combination. I take the best of what it is that they represented and dole that out.
That perfectly leads into my next question. What's your approach when you do stand-up comedy? My
approach is I convey to an audience the world as I see it. That's the best way that can be described as what I do. This is through the eyes of how I see it, and then I make them see it in that particular way. So that would be the best.
And how do you see the world?
I'm cranky. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. Never have I felt any older than walking around campus. I was walking around with a map. I felt like I was in a Tom Hanks movie, like I'm the old guy at the school trying to find a class that was going on. But I see it from a different type of, I've been doing stand-up for a long time. So I view it as a different type of avenue that I look at the world through a different type of eyes.
And how was the beginning of your comedic career?
It was very young. I was 17 when I started doing stand-up, yeah. I was very young and I knew very little. And it was that type of being able to convey that to an audience that, hey, remember shopping for school clothes as a kid? And most of those people were 30-something years old, so it was difficult to get them to do.
And who supported you and who wasn't supporting you in your career goals?
Everyone, for the most part, supported. I don't really recall anyone that didn't support. For the most part, I believe that everyone did support. You know, when you sit down, my father was a nuclear engineer. And when you sit down with a nuclear engineer at 17 and go, yeah, I think I'm going to go do stand-up, that's not really going to go over that well. But he did support it, and you know, so.
Oh, that's wonderful. Can you share with us a funny story about some hecklers?
There are no funny stories about hecklers. They're evil.
They're evil?
They're evil. I don't really, you know what, I never really got many hecklers. I still to this day, it may be a stage control type of deal, but I don't really get many hecklers from what it is that I do. A lot of people come out to the show and they think that they're helping, and my thought is the same, that no, we've got it down because we can't depend on them being there. You know, maybe they weren't going to be there. Then what? I don't have the guy to yell up stupid crap during the show, that type of deal. So.
All right. And have you used your comedic talents in getting away with a parking ticket or getting out of or improving a date?
Well, it would improve a date just for the sake of having women claim it's the sense of humor that they're looking for. I don't know that to be the case, considering the fact there are a lot of lonely, funny comics out there. But that does help with an icebreaker. It helps with a conversation type of stuff. I've never used it to get out of a ticket because I don't think really cops go, hey, that was really funny, let me let you go. That's not really happening on that. But it does help as far as just interaction, with personal interaction.
Where do you think the art of comedy is going? What will the future of comedy be?
I think that people are getting less structured with comedy, which is not a bad thing. The more of the comics I see are into more of a, it doesn't have to be a setup punch type of stuff. The audiences, especially young audiences, because that's what Comedy Central is geared towards, will follow non-linear type of stuff. So that seems to be where it's going. It's more of a, hey, we're just sitting along and watching the ride type of deal, as opposed to, hey, this is a joke that da-dum-bump, ba-bum-bump, that type of deal. So.
Interesting. And what are your future goals?
I plan on hopping back in a cab and going back to Tustin, and then I'll be getting out of that.
How do your children think about your profession?
That is a good question. When they were younger, they didn't care. Now that they're older, still don't care. But a little bit more respect out of it than that. My daughter is in show business, so she does have a sensibility of what it takes to do it. So she is in theater, and she graduated from NYU. She started out as an actress in television and film. She was in the movie Spawn. Anyone? Little girl? Movie Spawn? Someone? One person? Don't patronize me. Do not patronize me. If you've not seen, she was in that. And then she was in Jennifer Garner's 13 Going on 30. How about that? Anyone? Hello? Okay, now I'm somebody. Okay, now that's what's going on.
Have you ever had a joke bomb, and what would you do if you had a joke that bombed?
I would just leave. And then it'd be the funniest thing ever. Especially if it was the first joke and he just went good night and people are like, well, now what do we do with our evening? Yeah, I mean, that happens at times. The best way, you can do two things. You can either acknowledge that it took place, which is actually probably the most honest way to go about it, to acknowledge it, or you can just pretend that it didn't happen and move on to the next joke, because an audience's attention span is just that hungry. It's just whatever the next joke is, and then they don't remember the other joke. But it can be funny if you just acknowledge that it didn't work.
Do you have a preference of what you do?
I prefer that to not happen.
All right. Preparation.
My preference is to have the jokes go according as planned. That would be my preference.
Good. I heard that you were a musician in high school. What instrument did you play?
I played the trumpet in high school. I still pick it up from time to time. Played from elementary school all the way through college. So.
Great. And if you could make up your own perfect fantasy band, who would be in it?
Oh my goodness. My own fantasy band. I think it would be all playmates that can't play instruments but have an oral fixation. How about that? Pow! Huh? Bang, bang! And what? You don't know.
How was your experience on Comedy Central?
It was good. It was a nice, they run it through. It's a mill type of thing where comics are just going on. They tape a lot of shows during the daytime, but it's a nice exposure thing, and it's nice to throw out there on the resume. And if the clips ever pop up every so often, at least people can say, hey, look, you did something, that type of deal. And
what would you like to be remembered for? Or what would you like it to say on your gravestone?
Ooh, this is a very inside the actor studio type of question. This is, I would like to know that I made a difference. And whether it was me or by people that I affected. I look at one of the greatest people that I've ever met in my entire life is my great-grandmother, because she made a difference. She was a woman who was born in 1902. She dropped out of school when her mother died in an 8th grade. With an 8th grade education, and she proceeded to raise an entire generations of family. And then with that she made a difference, and that's what I would like to do.
It's a good goal.
That was poignant. That was deep. That was deep. That was deep.
And on a completely not deep note,
Okay.
Cats or dogs? Which do you prefer?
I prefer dogs.
Dogs.
Who does? Really? Is that a question?
Hey, I prefer cats.
Okay. Have you had the dogs?
Yes, yes.
And what was the problem with the dogs?
They're very large, with very large poop.
Oh, that's true. They do have large poop. You can't, yeah, the cats do go in a box. But cats they're so indifferent.
They aren't indifferent if you get to know them. If you're the owner, they can be very, very loving.
I don't trust them. They're evil. Anyone ever see that movie where the cats were stealing the breath and killing people? As a Stephen King thing, they would remember that? They stand on the chest and they'd suck the breath out of the.
Oh my
There's
God.
no dog movie, Cujo, but you get Cujo, you know something bad's gonna happen.
All right, all
Cats,
right.
they're sneaky. Every cat, you saw the movie, the cats, they're taking the breath, they sit right up and take the breath right out of you. That's horrible.
He does sit on my chest.
See?
I heard that you were doing a bunch of shooting in Canada. Can you tell me more about that?
I work mainly in Canada, actually.
Oh, I see.
I work in 8 places here in the U.S., and then the majority of my time is working up in Canada. And a lot of people ask me why that is, and I tell them the truth. I'm honest. I've done this for 30 years. I've run out of patience for the stupidity of the average American audience, and that's why I go to Canada.
Are they smarter up in Canada?
You know what? It's not the fact that they're smarter. We're just as smart. They don't have the slave mentality to a television, which lowers the attention span. So they can listen to a story. Although with us being dumbed down, I think that we're getting stupider here as a society. And I know here on a university campus, stupider, not even a real word. I know that. But if I said more stupid, then the stupid person would go, you mean stupider, and be right back to where we started. So therefore, I cut out the middleman. That's what goes on that.
I see. And where in Canada do you perform?
All over, from coast to coast. I do a lot of the major cities, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto. So a lot of the major cities, and then I do a lot of corporate stuff for oil companies up there as well.
What do you do for oil companies?
I tell them jokes at their holiday parties, and then they pay a lot of money. You know why? It's oil. That's why they got a lot of oil.
Good, good. What's your favorite venue to perform in?
I have a few that are here in the States. I like well, it's defunct now, but I like the Tempe Improv was one of my favorite places to perform here. But the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach probably sits at the top, and then there's a couple of places in Seattle that are really nice as well.
Interesting, interesting. So how do you either use or avoid stereotypes in your comedy?
I don't necessarily use it, but I do talk about it. And this is going to be deep. This is going to be a little heavy. I'm going to tell you this right now. It'll be a little heavy. Things that I can say in Canada that I can't say here. Now, look, racism is always a big, huge. It's always in the picture here in the States. We had a horrible history, and it's a big thing in the States. Now, in Canada, they have their share of racism, but they've learned tolerance as children to come up, so they understand a little bit better. So there's something that I can say in Canada that I don't say here, and one of it is that I enjoy being in Canada for the freedom as a black man to speak English properly.
Oh.
And so I point out certain things like that when it comes to the stereotypes and stuff.
I just got a question from our professor. He would like me to talk about the West Coast Funnies.
The West Coast Funnies. It is a show. It's been going on for about 10 years now. It is a comedy variety show. It started in Carlsbad, California, about 50 miles north of San Diego, at a theater there. The show is it's like a combination of Saturday Night Live and The Daily Show. Stand-up is the centerpiece of the show, so there's a couple of sketches. We do like a host desk type of piece on it, and like I said, then stand-up. And then we also do like a weekend update newscast on it. And I created that show, I direct the show, and I write the show. So.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work. What is your next endeavor, your next show that you're planning on doing? Are you planning on appearing on TV recently?
I've got a Craig Ferguson appearance coming up, but I don't know the date because they don't tell you the dates. So that would be the next thing that's on the immediate future, and then just my regular road work. I go back to Canada. I go to Canada in a couple of days, as a matter of fact, to Calgary, and I'll go up there.
So do you just do tours around your favorite spots?
My favorite 8 cities that I work in the United States, which it's more than 8, but we rotate 8 in. So it's here. Well, let's see how many we get to Seattle. Denver, Colorado, Westminster, Colorado, Colorado Springs, Detroit, Milwaukee, Boston, and then Tucson is on that list, Salt Lake City. It turns out that it's just a list of people that get what it is I do, for the most part. That's how it works.
So do you have a strong following?
I have a decent fans? You know what I have? I have fans that are angry. I have the most angry fans. Fans
really?
That if I go up on stage, they'll write me emails about being angry about something I said. Then I go, "Are you a fan?" "Oh yes, we see every show." But then they're angry with it. It's a hate relationship that me and this fan base have. I think it's because we both don't care for people. I think that's the thing that does it, and then so therefore they take that out on me.
Interesting, interesting. A hypothetical question.
All right.
If you were the president,
okay,
how would you fix this country? Or change it into your ideal world?
I would. All right, let's go back to race. Okay. I would get rid of the usage of the phrase hyphenated American. I would start there. I would say never lose track of your heritage or your culture, maybe possibly who you are and where you are. But if you're here, you're here. You know, if any of us leave this country and go anywhere else, they don't label us as ethnicity American. They hear you talk and they say, you're an American. So I don't label myself as being an African American. I'm an American. I don't know anyone in Africa. I don't want to go to Africa. I'll be honest with you, I don't want to live in a place where the adage is some days you get the food, other days, well, the food gets you. Look, I'm a pass on that. That would be one of the things I'd start with.
Interesting, interesting. And what would you tell young comedians who are about to start this career or thinking about starting it? Would you give them any advice?
I would say write. That's really the only, write and perform. That's really it. A lot of comics come up and they ask, oh, what because people are looking for shortcuts, especially in today's day and age, you're looking for shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. It's get on stage as much as you can, because that's the only way you can learn. As much knowledge as I have, I cannot give that knowledge to someone starting out and have them be ahead in the game. It's knowledge you have to get by being on stage and performing every night. And that's the only way that you get it, because it's different. You know, the knowledge I give you may not pertain to you. The only way you can do it is by telling a joke and doing it on stage night after night after night. Then you realize what your perspective is of it.
So at what age did people start saying that you were funny?
I always knew that I'd be doing something in show business. I remember in 4th grade of thinking I would be doing something like a Tonight Show type of deal, and I didn't even know what the Tonight Show was, but I knew that I'd be doing something like that. And then in the 8th grade, I was student body president. Please, please. Okay, thank you. I was student body president, and I was probably not a good president because I only won because of my sense of humor. I was absent on a day that, like a Friday, and so I come back to school on Monday, and then everyone says, are you ready to give your speech? And I said, what? And they said, you have to give a speech in front of the entire student body for your campaign this afternoon. So I shut down, I'm freaked out. As everyone knows, public speaking is a horrible thing, and it makes you very, very nervous. So every class I go to in junior high school, I'm just writing down the speech and stuff and figuring out what I'm going to say. And then what happened was when the speech came down to it, like my opponents, they all said things about what they were going to do for the school, and I just went up and did impressions of celebrities endorsing me for president. and I won.
So would you classify yourself as, you know, one of the funny kids in school, the goofballs? And
this is how I would classify it. And this is not, I've heard this line before, but it's very, very appropriate. I would be the class comedian. As you know, when in school, there's class clowns.
Right.
Well, there's a difference between the class clown and the class comedian. The class clown is the guy who runs naked down the football field during homecoming. And the class comedian is a guy that told him to do it. And that's the difference.
That's a good difference to know. Can you tell me about some of your first girlfriends? and what they thought of you?
What did they say?
And what would they think of you now?
They would probably think, and I'm probably in touch with most of them thanks to Facebook. Thanks, Facebook. Thanks, appreciate it. Is that they knew that this was what I'm doing now is exactly what it was that I was supposed to be doing. Because, you know, I was funny, that type of deal. I was a decent guy. I was a good guy.
That's good to know.
No, it doesn't matter, because women don't like good guys. Oh, I'm sorry. I was off something.
It's fine. How do you get into the mindset, like right before you get on stage? Is there something that you do to get over nerves or anything? Is there a ritual?
That's a good question. I used to get I still get nervous, but I would just kind of get really amped up. I'd jump around and stuff like that. Now I don't. I could be sitting down and just walk right up on stage. I'm still a little nervous, but I just get focused. I get focused on knowing what the first couple of things are that I'm going to talk about, which are not necessarily jokes. They're about something that took place in the room, maybe something that a comic said prior to me that made no sense, and the audience just accepted it, and I'll go up and talk about that and go, why did you accept that? Because that made no sense. So this type of, we're not making fun of them, but just making fun of the fact that no one questioned what was going on. And then I let them know that it establishes that my act, what I'm about to do for the 45 minutes to an hour I'm going to be on stage, is going to be very different. It's going to be very, like I tell audiences, that a lot of comics come out, there's a lot of happiness, a lot of peppiness, a lot of chipperness, a lot of energy, and that's not me. I've done this for 30 years. I'm married. I have 3 kids, 2 of which are adults. The other is in the 5th grade. I'm not the happy, peppy, chipper comic. If you want to classify me as anything, cranky, that's what I'd be. I'm cranky, not angry. Angry's like Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam leader. That brother's angry. That's not me. Yeah. I'm cranky. Remember the little kid used to play outside? I'm the old man that keeps the ball when it goes in his yard. That's who I am. So that's
interesting. I've heard that some comedians like to take mind-altering drugs or alcohol before they get on stage. Or have you experimented or do any of that? What's your opinion?
You've heard. I've seen. You've heard. I've seen. I don't drink, nor have I ever done any drugs, and that's just a choice I've made in my life. No real reason. There's no religious thing about it. That's just me. That's just decided this is what I do. I'm amazed by a lot of those comics that can. I know tons of comics will go out, they'll smoke pot, and then walk up on stage and do an amazing hour. And I know guys that get drunk on stage and keep it all together and are just phenomenal. And I'm amazed by it. That's really my only extent as far as my experience with it.
Interesting. Can you tell me how you met your wife?
I can.
If it's not too personal.
No, it's just online. It was just online. We were chatting, and I don't even remember exactly how it was, but it was just it was an online type of thing.
So
she happened
chat
to live,
rooms?
Yeah, like a chat room.
Not
back in the
eHarmony
day.
or anything?
No, not an eHarmony thing. Back in the day, on dial-up. No, it wasn't dial-up. It wasn't that long ago. It was back on AOL when you paid by the hour. You kids remember that, don't you? Huh? Hello? Who's with me? You paid by the hour. You sat there for 5 hours. You went over. You had to pull up your pants at the end. Now, look. What is that? Yeah, we met there. It was just chatting in a chat room and stuff, and I'm just always silly. When I go online during those times, because most of the time it was just because I'm bored, and I would go online and I would go into a chat room and pretend that I was drunk, and I would just disrupt everyone's conversation by just yelling, "I am so drunk." And
that got her attention?
And I got her attention. Got a lot of people's attention because they were like, this dude every day shows up and never talks serious. Every day he shows up and he just talks about how drunk he is. And so then, yeah, and she lived nearby, and we met up, and that's how it would start out.
At a coffee shop or?
We met in San Diego at a restaurant called Redfish, which is no longer there anymore. But that was where we had met. Yeah.
What was your first opinion of her? Don't want to get you in trouble, but.
No, my first thought is the same thought that every guy has if they met someone online is, oh my God, thank God she looks just like the picture she showed me. Because it wasn't this photo that she pulled from somewhere else. And then go, oh my goodness, look, I'm meeting, now it's a dude, you know, that type of deal. But no, yeah, I thought, oh, I was very happy because I remember her sitting down on a bench and me kind of slowly walking across and didn't take a, oh, good, that's fine.
Do you have a favorite child of yours?
No, I don't have a favorite child. They're all good kids. I was lucky. I got three good kids. A son who is named Alex, who is finishing up school. He's 25 years old. He's finishing up school in Missouri. And you know, it's tough. Where are you from originally?
Originally?
Yeah.
St. Petersburg, Russia.
Okay.
I don't think you can use that.
Nice. But I don't know if you know this, but they don't say Missouri in there. You know what they say? Anyone know what they say? Missouri. They say, well, they say Missouri. Yeah. So he's there. And by the way, that's wrong. That Missouri is wrong. They're a little brighter down south in Mississippi. But anyway. So there's that, and then Sydney, who is the daughter, who is finished up, graduated from NYU in May, and then Noah, who is 10.
And what would you say your parenting style is?
My parenting style in the early years was very different because I was there often, but it was more strict as far as talking to parents and talking to the kids and stuff like that. My parenting style now is very different because that child is 10, and it's just a lot of staring at him and just saying you're a very strange little person. That's all we do in the household. Now, so I've got 25, 22, and 10. There's a big gap there. I know I was almost out, and then they dragged me back into Shawshank. That's what's happened in my life. But this is what I've learned in parenting, because this is what happened with Noah, is that my parenting style would be the fact that there's a certain time where there's a window. If the window closes, the kid will still be spoiled. And the kid will be spoiled forever. Like Noah is spoiled, he'll be spoiled forever. Remember, he's 10. When he was 3, he did something wrong. And he was being chastised by me. In the middle of him being chastised, he said, I don't have time for this. And he left the room.
Oh my God, what did you do?
You just stare. There's nothing you can do. We both wanted to laugh because that's funny, and then he just left because I guess the 3-year-old today is much busier than we were at 3. There's a lot of shapes to memorize. You never know. There might be a pop quiz on colors. You got to study. You got to get to work.
And do you still help him with his homework?
I do. I look at it now. I'm still in the league where I can still help him out and see what's going on. It's very interesting how things have changed as far as how they're taught and stuff. My child did not learn how to handwrite.
Really?
Yeah.
At all?
At all. I mean, printing, yes, but you know, cursive, cursive, yes, yeah. You all learn.
4th grade.
Well, it's gone now. Apparently, at least out of my kids' school, it's gone. They don't learn. They just moved on. And I started thinking about it. I go, yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense because how much do you really use it in today's day and age? And then I look at my writing, like I haven't written in I don't know how long. I've written like letters just trying to write. It looks like a mental patient is writing. It'd be less scary if I cut out letters and mailed them to somebody than it would for my handwriting.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with mine. They always said I have to be a doctor to have such horrible handwriting. Did your parents ever say that you should be something else, or what would you be if you weren't a comedian?
I'd be a teacher? If I wasn't a comic. That would be that's the only thing I ever thought about doing. That's the only thing I ever wanted to do.
What subject would you teach?
That's a good question. I don't know. You know, as the older I get, I'm more fascinated with history. As a kid, I hated history, and now as an adult, I will lock in on that History Channel and not go away. I don't know if it's more interesting for me now, but I hated it then. I think it was presented more horribly than as I was a kid. It was more boring, and now it just seems more interesting.
Definitely. And do you have a favorite TV show that you watch or movies? What genres do you like?
I like action. And as a guy who used to be an athlete at some point in my life, I like any sports movies, and they make me cry. I'll admit that. Anytime, it doesn't even matter. Anytime that kid or whatever the team that shouldn't have won wins, I'm crying like a baby. every single time the sports where the kid does something or the team does something, that makes me cry. And I like action. And the shows I'm watching now, see, every time if I talk to young people about the shows, they seem like old people shows is what I watch. And I don't even know what is it that I'm watching. I like Homeland. I watch Boardwalk Empire. I like Scandal. Anybody?
I
Anyone?
love that show.
Okay,
I
one
love
person.
that show. It's really,
I like
really great.
that Last Resort has got me hooked in on that thing. And I think that may be about it that I'm watching on. I would try to get into Fringe, but I'm on the road a lot, so therefore I miss it, and then I can't see it.
Fringe is way too complicated.
Yeah,
It's
but I'm
ridiculous.
still waiting for them to bring back 24 because Jack Bauer's an ass-kicking dude. I like that guy.
You were talking about your sports that you were playing as a child. What were they?
I played a lot of basketball for the most part. That was the main sport, and then I played baseball and a little bit of football.
Do you have a preference? Were you better at one than the other?
I was better at basketball, I would say, than the others. But I was decent. I was okay. You know, as far as a high school kid goes, I could hold my own.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much for coming. I appreciated talking to you. It's been very, very enlightening.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back. And thank you for joining us on Titan TV.